Well, it's a pleasure to be with everyone again. We seem to be moving along through many, many topics. Let me take my glasses off because it makes funny shadows on my eyes. There. And tonight, I picked tonight's topic because I was looking at this election season and was feeling that there was a great deal of superficial, surface level turmoil in the country. And of course, I'm not unique in that feeling. I think almost everyone is recognizing that. But what I was noticing was that it was having a very profound effect, very deeply in consciousness. And that reminded me that we're all connected, not just the people on this planet, but all the animals, all the plants, the earth, the sky, the water, all of it. We're all interconnected, and all of that is connected with the universe. And I can add that when doing this energy work, one of the things I check out are people's connections with the universe, the stars and planets and galaxies, and looking for any malalignment, you might say, or any untoward influence that might be there. And then I have techniques for bringing some change in that. So we work on all levels in this work, and it's very, very important. There's a principle in Ho'oponopono, which is also found in Vedic tradition, and I believe in the Hebraic tradition. And that is that which is outside is inside, and that which is inside is outside. So we exist in a continuum, and whatever's going on out there is going on in here too. And we can deal with what's outside by dealing with what's inside. All we have to do is to become aware of that. And again, in my energy work, much of what I'm doing is tuning into what is going on with someone. I was reminded even today by Carolyn Mace, one of the great medical intuitives, that she talks in terms of energy draining and how that happens, and where one's attention goes, what you see in different parts. It's interesting that when she started her work, she was reminding me as she was talking that she didn't know anatomy. And so she would see things inside people, but she didn't know what they were. And so she worked with Norm Shealy, one of the very famous alternative medical doctors, and gradually learned anatomy so that she could correlate what she was seeing with what he was observing through medical studies, radiology and other testing that he could do. And so they were able to demonstrate that she was very, very accurate. The way she works, from what she was describing, is very much the way I work, which is noticing what I notice. Noticing, as she described it, it's like shadows. It's things that you see inside of someone, and then you have to learn. Now, I know the anatomy, of course, because I studied both physiology and medicine and have degrees in both fields. And I can usually tell where something is in the body if there's something going on. But most of my work is actually at a more subtle level, not so much on the organ level, although I can do that, and on the tissue and, on the cellular level, the biochemistry. We can work on any level. I just realized that one of the reasons I'm kind of dwelling on that is because next month I'm going to talk about disease and health, and how to restore that, because I'm starting to make a push in the direction of working with people who have very serious disorders. I find that as a physician, I guess it's my medical background, I find that very gratifying. And I'm perfectly happy to help people with headaches and, abdominal pains and things like that. But I really find that my deepest satisfaction, shall we say, or deepest thrill comes in helping people who have serious medical conditions. And I have worked with many people like that. but they actually are less than half of my practice, and I'd like to make them a larger part of my practice. And I think because of my medical background, I'm actually highly qualified to do that kind of work, even though anyone can actually do the work if they know how to do energy work. But it's helpful to have the medical background so that when people say, well, I have this and this, my doctor says this, and here are my lab tests, I actually know what they mean. So it makes it satisfies me in that kind of way. I guess there's still a little medical doctor left in me, even though I'm very, very happy not to be using pharmaceuticals and radiation and things like that to treat people. So anyway, getting back to tonight's topic, the circle of life, I was reading the lyrics and actually listened again to the song, The Circle of Life, which was used in The Lion King. You probably all know that the song was written by Elton John, and I always found it a very moving piece. One gets a little bit different, at least I got a little bit different impression when I actually read the lyrics. So if you'll excuse me, I'll put my glasses back on and make ugly shadows on my face. But the lyrics, that, particularly that Elton John wrote, I should note that the recording that was used in the version of the movie, they took two of the verses and put them together, and they left out a lot of the material that Elton John had written. But Elton John's version starts out, actually they both start out, from the day we arrive on the planet, which I think is a very telling phrase. And blinking, step into the sun. There's more to be seen than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. Some say eat or be eaten. Some say live and let live. But all are agreed as they join the stampede, you should never take more than you give. And then the chorus, in the circle of life, it's the wheel of fortune. It's the leap of faith. It's the band of hope until we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of life. And then the song goes on, and then it gets to the part that both versions used. There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. But the sun rolling high through the sapphire sky keeps the great and the small on the endless round. So I think this song expresses very much what I understand, and I hope all of you understand, about the circle of life. Anna Breitenbach, the great animal communicator, she's really quite incredible, talks about the continuousness of a circle. It doesn't have an end. But in my experience, it's not just the circle, meaning the outside, but it's the web of connection that threads through the entire circle. I had a wonderful experience on Labor Day. Our family went to Red Rock Lake, and it was a part of the lake I'd never been to before. There's a peninsula that runs up on the west side, and then there's a bay to the south and west of that. And so we were on that side, and that was a part of the lake I'd never seen before, because it's kind of cut off by the peninsula from the great part of the lake. And the weather was absolutely perfect. It was in the low 80s, I think, and there was a breeze. And one of the families had a boat, and the kids got to go tubing, and then later I think they were going to go water skiing, but it got rather late in the afternoon when we left. But it was a beautiful day, and I was just taking it in. It was, for me, truly a day off. I just let everything go, and we were out there. I became very aware of the energy of the sky and the wind, and the sun and the earth, and all the things growing on the earth, and of course the water, and all the things in the water, and all the people around. It was a holiday and there were a lot of people. We actually were very fortunate to get a little spot that was kind of isolated, so we really felt like we had the place to ourselves. There was all this energy about, and it was very kind of thrilling to me to experience, to feel all of that energy interacting, influencing everybody and everything that was there. Just so much energy. And it was good energy, of course. It was just that beautiful outdoors. Really couldn't have been any nicer, I think, for a mammal on that particular day. It was just lovely. Just a nice day to relax and just take it all in. But it was that web of connection that I was feeling. Not just the cordial friendships and the relationships and the play between the kids and the kids with the adults. And we had dogs there too, and they were playing and racing around and playing with the kids. And it was all just a really great time. It wasn't just the human and dog interaction, but the interaction with the entire environment that really struck me and made me realize how important it is that we just recognize and experience, open ourselves to that experience of the influence of all of those things on the way we are functioning and on our existence, and attend to those things. And so if we notice something that's out of balance, just putting our attention on it can be very, very helpful, just accepting that it's there. I love the fourfold steps of the Ho'oponopono process because they make it so simple. And the first step is acceptance, just accepting the fact of the existence of whatever is there. And so if you feel some discomfort, just acknowledging that that's there and then putting attention on it. And that putting attention on it, in Ho'oponopono, they say forgiveness. In this context, it has a slightly different meaning. And the meaning to me is, we have that acceptance and then the forgiveness that it has happened and that something in me has interacted with other things which are not really outside of me to produce a situation. So if there is some discord out there, as there has been lately in spades, huge political turmoil and people saying things that I can't believe people were saying out loud. There's no politeness left, it seems. If there's some discord out there, we just accept the fact that it's there and just offer forgiveness that it has occurred. And that brings this quality of healing, allows nature to bring forth its balancing energy, and things just improve. And it's a very simple process. It's a very natural process, very innocent process. We don't have to work at it at all. It's just, we have that notion, it's there. So I'm feeling something, wherever that might be, in the heart, anywhere in the heart, in the upper part of the heart, the middle, the lower, at the diaphragm, down in the solar plexus area, or further down, or anywhere else. It could even be outside the body, but just being aware that there's some influence, and then just putting a little bit of attention on it, and then letting go, just very innocent like that. Brings a transformation. It gives it a chance for that energy to shift into a direction of great peace, harmony, so that the world becomes a more peaceful place. Now, of course, some of the things we feel, those are ours, meaning they may be things on the level of the body. We didn't eat the right food, or a food, meaning a food that's not suitable for us, or we ate too much or too fast, typically too much, and often too fast, I guess. But something about the food not being suitable, or something on the level of usually the emotions in the mind. Either we're thinking about something and worrying about it, or we're feeling some upset, some anger, some frustration with the way things are going. And we just, find that that is manifesting in us in some way. And if it's manifesting in us, then it may be manifesting out in the universe too. Some part of the world, our neighbors, our friends in the community, or further away, or all of those things. And so when we attend to what's going on in us, we're attending to what's going on everywhere. And we restore harmony in that. And then the whole world feels better. And each of us makes a contribution to that. And when we're all doing that, then the collective effect is very, very powerful. So it's a wonderful thing if more and more people can get involved in that. And hopefully here in just a couple of minutes, we'll get started doing that collectively. I wanted to add that last month when we did our session, I saw in that session, I saw something much more clearly than I ever had before. And that was how we work on all levels simultaneously. Now, sometimes we're dealing with a situation that our attention will be drawn to a particular thing, particular level of existence. It may be something very, very subtle, or it may be something very gross. You may have cut your finger or hit it with a hammer or something, as I almost did today. But I didn't. And, but something may have happened. And so, you're dealing with that on the very physical level, very gross level of existence. Or maybe there was some kind of, accident, or there was some sort of problem in the world. Some event that occurred. Might even have been a hurricane. I should like to note that when we had very large numbers here in Fairfield, we went several years without a hurricane hitting the U.S. land at hurricane force. There were some hurricanes, but they dissipated before they made landfall. But we had our first hurricane just a few weeks ago, I think it was, in a number of years. And part of the reason is that our numbers, I think, are very small, and we're not able to generate that protective effect that we seem to have generated for many, many years when we had large numbers of people doing their program here in Fairfield. So I actually offer that as a bit of an admonition for those of you who have been, and it's not the group in the room, of course, but those who have been a little lax in their participation in group program. It's an extremely, extremely powerful technique and very important one to undertake. What we do on our little webinars, I call them little because they're not thousands of people yet. They will be someday, but not yet. But we do have a good collective effect, and that can be for the health or well-being of the individuals or the community and society at large. I had another experience in mind, and then it just slipped out of my mind. Maybe it'll come back to me in a minute. So anyway, last month I had this experience of really being aware of working at multiple levels simultaneously, and how powerful that was. How we were able to achieve so much in such a short time. Time really doesn't matter. In some sense, everything takes place instantaneously, and somebody contacted me a few weeks ago, and they had a serious condition, and I knew what it was. They told me what it was, and I understood what it meant physiologically. And we reviewed some things. I said, okay, let me check in and see what's going on. And what I got was that this particular illness, very serious, life-threatening illness, was a major lesson kind of situation. It was for them to learn a major lesson. And probably a big part of that was a test of faith and a chance to explore what it means to truly have faith in divine intelligence. And so this was a big assignment. And I explained this to them, and I said it would take me some number of sessions. I can't remember the number. I said, I think 9. And I said, I think it'll take us 9 sessions. That was the number that I got, as I was asking, what is it going to take to achieve the goal of this illness, for the person to realize what was going on. And I got 9, and they said, no, it should be done instantly. And they decided not to work with me. They decided I wasn't quick enough. And I explained so I said, well, no, the reason it's going to take 9 sessions is that there's this big lesson to learn. And it's not just about healing the disease, which could be done very quickly, but it won't heal because you've got to learn this lesson. That's why it's here. And in my experience, when you get into these situations, you have to go through the steps. There's a process that one has to go through to learn the lesson so that you can be free of that karma and move on. It's not karma in the usual sense of, good karma, bad karma. It's not that kind of thing. It may have a little of that in it, but the bigger thing is that you came on earth to learn this lesson. It's one of many things you may have come to do. But one of the things, anyway, is that you came to learn this lesson. And if you don't learn it now, then you will come back and in another lifetime have another shot at it. And so what I said to him is, if you learn the lesson now, then, you won't have to come back. That's the goal. And that didn't persuade them. So I said, okay, that's the choice they get to make. So anyway, hopefully that's not too theoretical, because I think it's actually very important to understanding this notion of why things happen to us. And I'll go over that again next month when we talk about health and lack of health. Because in my experience, that this is a really, really important factor. And of course, there are many approaches to that. There's not only the energy work that I do, but things like Maharishi Yagya are extremely effective and very, very powerful in dealing with this kind of thing. They produce the desired effect at the subtlest level of existence, that very subtlest vibration of individuality and universality. And so they're very, very effective. But people who have worked with me in this kind of way have gained great benefit from doing that work. So we look forward to that. So it's time for us now to shift gears. I'll just ask if there's anyone in the room that has any question or comment at this point. And I will ask again after we have our group clearing session. And if anybody online has anything, there's at the bottom of your screen, if you're seeing it, there is a chat button. There's also a Q&A button that you can use, but I'm going to just ask you to use the chat button, and that will pop a message up. You type something in and it will pop a message up, and I will put my glasses on and read it. So anything in the room at the moment? Okay. And I'm not seeing anything pop up on my screen here in the way of a chat. So we will proceed now. I am going to, because I tend to bow my head while I'm working and I get to this very settled state like this, and rather than have you look at the shiny top of my head, I will move off screen. I still will be connected here with this microphone, but I will be just right over there. But you can see the magnolia tree behind me and our logo. So I'm going to do the moving now and invite everyone in the meantime to get settled in their seats. If you're not already, make sure you're comfortable. And it's often helpful when we do this exercise, particularly if you're not feeling like you're settling in or not used to doing this, to just notice where you're sitting. Just notice what you're sitting on, what the feeling is of sitting on the seat, the sensation, the furniture against your body, and either your feet on the floor or wherever you have them. And just notice if your attention is drawn perhaps to your back or your neck or any other place in your body. And if some adjustment in position is needed, just go ahead and adjust yourself so you're nice and comfortable. And then you can just let your attention go to the breathing. Just feel the body as you breathe in and breathe out. And now you can just ask yourself, do I feel grounded? And just notice what happens when you do that, when you ask that question. If you feel grounded, just celebrate that pleasant steadiness. In Yoga Sutra it says, Sthir Sukham Asanam. Which means asana is steadiness, pleasantness. And if you're not feeling grounded, where does your attention go? Where does it go and what do you feel in there? What kind of qualities are there? Is it heavy or light, cold or hot, or neutral? Is there a sense of moving, or maybe a sense that it's stuck? Is it thin like air or dense like water? Wet or dry? Rough or smooth? Again, we don't have to try to change anything, just noting that it's there and accepting that it's there. There's a sort of implied forgiveness that it's there. You can ask this part that's feeling out of balance if there's anything it wants you to know. And let it know that you're grateful for anything that it shares. You may be noticing that the qualities are shifting. They're not as intense as they were. It's like that part is blending into the rest of the wholeness of your being. But if it hasn't shifted yet, that's okay too. Just let it know that it's okay. And when it feels comfortable, you can ask yourself, is there anything around me that draws my attention? Particularly any relationship. For me today, it was my relationship with my computer. Every time I'd ask it to do something, it would balk. Or it needed a software update. It was amazing how many things happened today that kept me from getting done what I was trying to do. If there's someone that you've been meaning to get in touch with but haven't yet, you could just let your attention go to that person now. And just greet them. And let them know that you're thinking about them, that you care about them. And see what shows up. That was good. It's important not to question what comes into your mind. If there's some awareness that maybe, could be, possibly be of the other person, just accept the fact that it's there. That you're picking up something in their field. So now we have 2 points of connection. One is with ourself, either in a grounded state or with some specific value, which may even by this time have quite integrated with the rest of our field. And then we feel connected to someone or something, perhaps even several things, people. And we can just see if there's any sense of the interconnectedness of all of that. Myself and the parts, and then the others. And what about the space around you? The room you're sitting in, or the car, or wherever you are. The building that you're in, a home, or an office building, or whatever it is. And the land around that. And the air, and anything else. Crickets or birds or other animals. And your neighbors. What does it feel like? All of those different things, all connected to you at once. Now let's expand our awareness of the web even further. Let your awareness stretch out in all directions. Not just across the surface from the earth, but also down into it and up above. as an illustration, experiencing and interacting with the web of connections in the circle of life. My attention was with Donald Trump, not as we see him making speeches and carrying on the way he does. Sitting in a chair at home, being comfortable. And then my attention went to the people who hold him in such contempt. It actually went to the contempt, not to the individual people, but to that sense of contempt. And I just let that contempt float. I didn't try to do anything with it. What's floating in that web of connection is a person who's really very vulnerable and who's learned to shield that vulnerability, that vulnerable part of himself, with a great deal of bravado. And then I'm seeing the enmity that's directed at him, the contempt. So those two things are in conflict, so I'm just letting them float. So if there's any conflict in your awareness, could be with anyone, or with some aspect of yourself, just try the same thing. Just try letting those things that are in conflict just float in your web of connection. It's all part of the circle. It all goes around. It can be very hard not to bring in judgment. It's hard to remain without judgment, just looking at it. Yeah, that person's done that, and they said those things. Sure, they have lots of reasons. What if we let that go? Just see the person and see ourselves, see our own reaction to them, our attitude. There we go. I was feeling some of you just go, oh, yeah, now I see what he means. You just observe that, just observing that. And perhaps now, having connected ourself, the things going on inside ourselves, the things going on in others close to us, with our environment, and with a broader society. And you could let your attention go to the earth, those who exploit the earth, and those who want to protected, or aspects of nature. I get emails about the wolves all the time, and sharks. We can let our awareness expand even further, wherever it may go. Planetary influences, that is to say, influences of natural law marked by the planets. Or maybe it's things going on around the world. The suffering and the struggles that people are experiencing in so many places. Even in this country. On Friday night, Netflix is premiering a documentary. It's a short documentary, they said, called The White Helmets. And it's about civilian volunteers working in Syrian cities who go into areas that have just been bombed to try to rescue people who may be in the rubble or people who were injured. And in this documentary, I'm not sure, I want to watch it, but on the other hand, it's going to be quite difficult for me because they have video of planes flying over and dropping bombs, and rockets coming in and exploding. And it gives a very, very vivid picture of the conditions under which these people are living on a daily basis. The process for dealing with that kind of thing is the same, just acknowledging its existence. My attention shifts to the efforts for a ceasefire. Theoretically, there's one in effect now, but regardless of whether or not it's working, just the attention on the energy of a ceasefire. People trying to produce that, even if it's in their minds, is quite a conflicted, confusing situation. We just bring clarity to that. For the sake of the citizens. And I just let all of that settle into the web of my life. And that brings peace. And in that peace, the impulse of energy to transform that situation. It's very powerful. So I'm going to invite you now to take a couple of minutes to come back into the room in this long journey of connection. I will resume my place in front of the camera. The able-bodied, silky white assistant down here is keeping track of things. Our cat likes to be nearby when we do these sessions. Finds them very attractive. Few of you who have had sessions here in the house, I think, are aware of the very powerful and soothing influence that he has. He's a very special being. The circle, the circle of life, the web of connections on all levels of existence. Most importantly, the energy that we share. And learning to operate at that subtle level where intelligence is vibrant and manifests all of our experience. And we can transform anything. So any questions or comments in the room on experience? If anyone out there in cyberspace wants to comment, please use the chat function. Put my glasses on so I can see if you're sending me any message. We have a very settled group tonight. Well, it's been a pleasure to... Oh, we have a comment. Please, go ahead.
Just a comment.
Mm-hmm.
You usually mention Ho'oponopono, and I usually forget about it until the next month. I have read the book, one book, and it's pretty interesting, so it's good to be reminded.
I'm not sure if that came across on the microphone, but he's talking about Ho'oponopono being a very interesting approach. How, unfortunately, he forgets about it from one session to the next. I seem to remind people fairly frequently, but it's a very special practice in itself, but its philosophy is very familiar, I think, to most of us in the meditating community, of the oneness of all and the interconnection of all, and just a wonderful way of shifting energy at all levels. It's just a beautiful, beautiful practice. It's not the only one I use, of course, but it's one that I like and I use as a framework much of the time for looking at things and transforming them. The transformation, again, though, is mainly just attention. It's mainly attention. Anything else? If not, I'll sign off here. It's been a pleasure to be with you as always. We will be meeting again next month. I just realized that I forgot to write down the date, but I think it's the third Tuesday because the month starts on a Tuesday. And so it'll be the 15th, 1st, 8th, 15th. Yes, I think that's correct. 15th of October, and that should be far enough away from Halloween that we'll all be okay.
I would say the third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday, and I believe that's the 15th. Comes of trying to do too much today. It's one of the many, many, many numbers I dealt with today. And we'll be working on health and how to get it back if we lose track of it. And we introduced some of that process again tonight. I guess we do a little of it every time, but particularly tonight.
The first is a Saturday, so...
The first is a Saturday?
I don't think the third Thursday would be the 15th.
So it would be the 3rd, the 10th, 17th. I will send out announcements,
Yeah.
as I always do. I try to let you folks who are on this call know in an email in a couple of... Right. I'm not sure which one I picked, and there was a reason I picked it, and it had to do with something else happening. So I will let you know when it is. As always, everyone who participates in this is entitled to a $25 discount on a 3-session program. And if you sign up within the next 2 weeks, so I will send out a letter, email, reminding people of that. And I hope everybody can join us next month. And I guess that's it for tonight. So thank you all for being with us. And good night.